Welcome to Album Impressions. This series is going to be like an album review, sort of. See, whenever I watch a review of music, I typically like to hear someone's subjective thoughts on an album taken piece by piece, and that's what I plan to do here. So here we go, my first album review, Kintsugi by Death Cab for Cutie. Okay, so I'm going to start with just a little bit of background information. Kintsugi is Death Cab's 8th studio album. Other albums that I've listened to by them include Transatlanticism, which is probably my favorite album at this point, and Plans, which I think is still great, but it has a very different feel than Transatlanticism, at least for me. So I'll start this review by giving my impressions just track for track. The first song on this album, No Room in Frame, establishes a sort of simultaneously peppy and melancholy tone for the album. It's really like peppy in the music and melancholy in the lyricism. I really like the lyrics on this one. They're really creative. I especially like the comparison of a relationship to the frame of a camera. The second song is the first single from the album, which is Black Sun. This one's pretty solid. It's slower while still maintaining the whole melancholy thing I was talking about in the last song. The lyrics are a bit repetitive for me, except for the chorus. It seems like he kind of wrote the song around the chorus in this one. One thing that kind of irritates me about this song is the lyrics. The whole song kind of follows the pattern of there's this one thing and then there's this other thing that's the opposite. I do particularly like the final chorus that has just the vocals that are accompanied by the stinging guitar. The third song on the album is The Ghosts of Beverly Drive. Again, the chorus is really solid on this one, and I'm not so sure about the verses. One thing that I really do like about this song is the sort of blast in volume as a transition from the verses to the chorus. And it happens really seamlessly, it's really nice. The guitar in the background is pretty uninteresting throughout the whole song, but it works, I guess. Finally, the bridge is really good on this one. I like the small sound clip that just keeps getting repeated over and over again. I can't really pinpoint what it is, but it dictates the beat. The next song is called Little Wanderer. I really liked this one a lot from the first listen, and it still might be the best song on this album for me. Some of the more Japanese references start to creep in, hence the album name Kintsugi. Like, for example, you sent a photo out your window of Tokyo. I like the part where he starts to talk about time zones because that kind of reminds me of the ideas that are conveyed in Transatlanticism. He follows a lot of the same themes with that, about distance, but in different ways. And he kind of finds a new creative way to talk about that same idea, but in a new way each time. The next one is You've Haunted Me All My Life. This one, for me, is pretty I like the guitar at the beginning and then the echoey vocals that make it sound kind of either haunting, which would make sense because of the song name, or outer spacey to me. The next song is Hold No Guns. There's not much for me to say here. It's grown on me a little bit, but it's just alright. Now, the album breaks back into some more peppy, upbeat stuff, starting with Everything's a Ceiling. Now with this one, are we sure that this isn't just a new Killers single? Because it sounds exactly like a new modern Killers song. Especially the chorus and then the bridge. It is a good song though, it keeps a really steady beat and I enjoy the progression throughout the song. It gets a little stale though after a lot of listens. The next one keeps with almost the same pace, with Good Help Is So Hard to Find. It's pretty different sounding from the rest of the album with the instrumentation, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air to me. I like the lyrics a lot in this one. They sound like he's really directing the lyrics at someone while he's singing. It works really well. There are a lot of great, I don't know what to call them, I guess, one-liners in this song, if I start to levitate, pull me down with all your weight, and you never have to hear the word no if you keep all your friends on the payroll. Next song is El Dorado. For me, this is the most boring of all the songs. No matter how many times I listen to it, it's always just really stale and I just want it to be over. It's not so much bland as it is just uninteresting. It just doesn't do it for me. So it really picks back up with the song Aunjanue. I really like this one. Either this or Little Wanderer is probably my favorite song on this. Yeah, it does take a while for it to pick up at the beginning, but I think it's interesting enough throughout that it keeps me interested. Did I just say interesting twice in one sentence? Jeez. And then this might be a bit of a stretch, but when the drums kick in, it kind of reminds me of when the drums kick in from In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. So the last song on this album is Binary C. This one's a little slow, but I kinda like it. It's a good album ender, but that's pretty much all it is. I would only listen to it as an album ender, not like by itself. Other than that, all I really have to say is that I kinda like the ending, and what I mean by that is it wraps up with the word here, but it kind of misses a beat. You'd have to listen to it to know what I mean, but I don't know, it just feels more complete that way, and I like it. Now, a quick word as to the cohesion of this album. For me, the whole album flows pretty well, except for the middle. The bookends seem to flow really well, but then something about, as soon as it goes into You've Haunted Me All My Life, it kind of breaks, and it feels kind of shaky. It's not entirely needed to listen to this as an album, but I would recommend it, especially because of Binary C. It's worth listening to, but again, it's not worth listening to it by itself. There's an overall Japanese vibe to this album, as I've said before. There are a few instances where it shows through the instrumentation, and then it's also mostly through the lyricism, through the city names, and then just mentioning nature a lot. Just a quick note also, Kintsugi in Japanese culture is the art of repairing broken pottery with a special gold-looking material. It essentially is used to treat breakage as part of the history of an object rather than just simply making it disposable. This could be interpreted as a metaphor for frontman Ben Gibbard's recent divorce. It could also have to do with Ben Gibbard being disappointed with their previous album, Codes and Keys. I do think from start to finish it's a much better record than Codes and Keys. If that record turned anybody off, I feel pretty strongly that this one could win them back. There are threads in this one that connect back to our earliest stuff that people love. So that's about it. If you like any of Death Cab's stuff, I would recommend you listen to this, even though I didn't like it as much as Transatlanticism or Plans. It definitely has its own unique sound. However, I haven't listened to Codes and Keys, which I've heard is in the same realm as this. In the near future, I'm going to be listening to Codes and Keys, and I'll do a video on that, so be sure to subscribe for more. And that's about all I got. Tell me what you thought of the album, and see you next time.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please.